Welcome, everybody, to another segment of Lewis at Large. Yours truly, Warner Lewis from the flight deck. And, of course, that means some very smart talk radio is in your future, and this segment is certainly no exception. We're going to be talking to Trishas Sutter. Who's Trishas Sutter? Let me take you back a little bit. Several years ago, 10 years ago, 26 million of us watched ABC's first Bachelorette get swept away in a fairy tale romance. She was courted by a handsome poetry-writing firefighter in some of the world's most luxurious destinations. But this hard-working girl from South Florida, I know she's blushing as I read this, and never imagined her dreams would come true on national TV. Just recently, she and Ryan celebrated their 10-year anniversary. One of the rare reality TV couples that actually ends up in a very, very good place, and that indeed is her. There's a brand new work that she has penned called Happily Ever After. That alone makes us all feel pretty good. Trishas Sutter, how are you, my friend?
I'm great. How are you?
Well, you sound like you've led what some would probably feel is a very charmed life. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I have lived a charmed life for sure. At least, and I had a great childhood too, growing up in St. Louis, Missouri, and yeah. But obviously, what everyone saw on television, I was very blessed to have been able to experience it and find the love of my life. So.
What I'm curious as to, and we won't spend a whole lot of time on this, but dial back 10 years ago. What were Trishas Sutter's well, at the time it wasn't Trishas Sutter, it was a different last name. But what was Trishas' expectations going into all that?
Well, honestly, I just wanted to have fun. I was in Miami at the time, working at Miami Children's Hospital, and I saw a casting person come on Extra and talk about this new reality show. You could go on and meet people and travel, and I really honestly just wanted to have fun. And then I fell kind of for the guy, and thought when they asked me to do The Bachelorette that it would be actually I would have a really good chance at meeting somebody because they were, a network television or a television network, and they could introduce me to people that I would never have otherwise have met. So I figured, why not? So it changed from The Bachelor to The Bachelorette, but first it just started because I wanted to have a good time. So you had a very good time that 10 years later is still, we think, a very good time. Yeah, I would say so.
What, and again, you recognize you have been blessed, but you also are a hard worker indeed. Now, you're a stay-at-home mom, but do you still work? Do you still have a profession?
Well, I went to school to be a physical therapist. So
right.
I wanted to be a physical therapist and ended up asking for a leave of absence to go do The Bachelor, and then they wouldn't give me another one for obvious reasons because I would be gone for a really long time. So they wouldn't give me one for The Bachelorette. So I left that behind, and I'm now what I call a stay-at-home and work mom. I take on jobs that come here or there. I work with different national companies to promote their campaigns that they're working on, and most recently have been involved in writing my book for the past couple of years. So,
right.
Yeah.
You've also had the opportunity to be on things like Dancing with the Stars. You're on the Travel Channel. You did a little work for Red Book and Parade and more. That must be very satisfying for you.
It's fun. I'm able to feel like an adult, a productive member of society, if you will, and not just a mom, even though, and I say it like that because, I just did an interview earlier today where someone basically said that, and I mean, for anyone listening who is a stay-at-home mom, you know that it's the hardest job anyone can ever have, also the most rewarding. So it's a job without monetary compensation, but so people often, kind of brush it aside that it's not necessarily a job, but I take it very seriously, and I'm incredibly blessed to be able to do it.
Right. There's no question that just because a mother is working outside the home doesn't mean she's any less committed.
Right.
Maybe in many times even more, just considering some of those sacrifices. But another subject, and I want to touch on that a little bit more later, but let's talk about Trishas Happily Ever actions, which are designed to motivate us and understand and be positive and be proactive. Tell us a little bit about that, if you would.
So we, along with my editor, we came up with Happily Ever Actions, which are little tips throughout the book that basically allow or help you to implement the concepts that I share throughout the book in your own life. So the book, I started because I wanted to write a children's book, and I got connected to a literary agent, and she recommended that I start with an adult book of some kind. And I told her about how gratitude has really played an important role in my life. And I tweet and post on Facebook every day my favorite part of the day. It's hashtag fave part of day, and have for 2 years now, over 2 years. And it's just my way of focusing on the positive. And she really loved that. She thought that would be a great concept, especially in this day and age. So we went with it, and the book is all about the different relationships of your life and different stories from my life, from my friends and family, from people I've read about on the Internet I've never met before, and then tons of research about how if you embrace a grateful heart, then you truly will live a happier life. So the Happily Ever Actions are just little tips at the end of each chapter that give you just a little takeaway that you can, implement these stories throughout the book into your own life.
If you just joined us, shame on you. Yours truly, Warner Lewis, from the flight deck of Lewis at Large Radio. And we got a special guest today. We're talking to ABC's first bachelorette, Trishas Sutter. And 10 years ago, she and Ryan got together. They were married. They have children. They live in the lovely confines of Colorado. And we're talking specifically about a new work called Happily Ever After, The Life-Changing Power of a Grateful Heart. Trista, my sense is that in a group of people, if someone is complaining incessantly, that's not terribly attractive to you.
No, although I do have to say I am human and I do it myself every so often. So I think, if you're having a rough day, you can complain, you can get frustrated, you can get impatient, but I think that trying, actively and consciously trying to be grateful is really important, as well as in the hard times when you're having a really rough day, those are the times that you need to focus on gratitude even more than, when things are, all going swimmingly. So, but yeah, I don't necessarily like pessimistic attitudes. That's for sure.
Well, if you would, to the level that you're comfortable, share with us a little bit about your family, your husband and your children, and tell what's a day like in the Sutter home. They're probably all different, but kind of what's a day like?
A day at the Sutter house really revolves around our kids, 4 and 6, and getting them ready for school, getting them fed. When they're at school, it's getting work done, getting to the gym. Ryan still works as a firefighter at the Vail Fire Department. And, I just take care of the house, pay the bills, do what I can in terms of if I have a job to do, like promoting the book and spreading the word about gratitude, that sort of thing. I actually have a collection coming out called the Grateful Heart Collection, and it's like little gift items that go along with the book, like a journal and bookmark and magnets and picture frames and wall art and just tons of fun stuff. So I'm dabbling my hands in all different kinds of stuff, but it's mostly about them, getting them from school, taking them to their activities, getting dinner, and getting them to bed. So it's about keeping a regular schedule for me. Schedule is very important here, and I think it's just about, the easy daily stuff that everyone does.
What about, Trista, do you, in the work that you do, you probably go through periods of just very, very intense kinds of promotional and speaking work and outreach stuff, and then maybe it slows down a bit. During those intense periods, are you spending a lot of time on the road, or what? Tell us about that.
Right now I am. I was in New York last week. I'm leaving for New York today to co-host The View tomorrow. And then next week I go to LA, and it's a crazy time, but I don't usually travel this much. In January I'll be traveling to do the gift marts in Dallas and Atlanta and Vegas in January. But other than that, I'm usually here and just trying to take care of the family.
Yeah, that I understand that motivation for sure. I'm curious as to, and maybe talking to you a month from now might give me a different answer. But do you like the hustle bustle? Do you like being on the road? Do you like doing the promotion, or is it a little bit more than what you had bargained on?
I like it. I mean, I definitely don't want to be away from home more than necessary. So, like, doing The View, I'm basically flying to New York today, and I'm flying back after I tape The View. So I try to, I like to travel, especially with my family or with Ryan. I try to do it as concise and smush it all in as possible.
You and Ryan have what most would consider a fairly traditional home. Obviously, a mother, father, 2 kids, and working parents and loving parents. And based on what you're telling us, pretty sort of regular, predictable schedule. There are those that are single family or single parent families, divided families, and all those. In your opinion, what kind of common things can people look to, hang on to, and believe in to just feel good about what they're doing and to ensure that kids are in a positive environment?
I think that as parents, you need to make sure that you realize that you're your children's biggest role model. So showing them how you can be positive and optimistic and grateful. There's a study that I included in the book about different dialogues that you share with families, and the families that are closest and able to get through the trials of their life the easiest are those who have a dialogue. I think it was called oscillating, and the oscillating narrative was one in which the family tells stories, talks a lot, but the stories that they tell are, this was a really rough time, but we were able to get through it because we have a lot of love in our life. It ends on a positive note. So it recognizes the negativity. It doesn't wallow in it, but as a family unit, you bond together and try to get through things together. So I think that's probably the most important thing you can do, and just actively and consciously choosing to be grateful in every day and living that lifestyle true to heart.
What again? You're obviously blessed with a husband that you love very much. Tell us about. Do you guys ever lose sight of one another and you because you come so focused on the kids? Is that possible?
Oh gosh, yeah. It's very easy to do that. I think in this day and age, people get busy, and we're no different. We have 2 kids that need us. They need us to take them everywhere and get them fed and get them bathed and all that stuff. So for sure, but I think that's the challenge. Is marriage is hard work, and especially when you're a parent, you need to realize that just because you have people in your life that need you maybe more than your husband or your wife needs you at a certain point in time doesn't mean that you can't make your relationship a priority. So I think it's about trying to ensure that your partner knows that you are a priority through spending, time together, through notes or sweet little romantic gestures. I think it's really important to the longevity of your relationship that you make sure that your partner realizes how important they are to you, especially if you have kids and you don't have a lot of time to spend one-on-one. I mean, babysitters are expensive these days, and just finding the time to get away because of career and life and, everything else we've got going on. But it is really important to do so.
Trista, I am a strong animal lover. There's a piece in here that I noticed in the book that because Trista Sutter says goodbye to her best friend's best friend.
Aww.
Share that story with us, if you would.
Yeah, Ryan had a dog named Natasha before we got together. She was a Siberian Husky, and 2 years ago she passed away. She had a bunch of tumors and her liver, there were some problems there. So we decided to do the humane thing, which is kind of ironic because we can't do that with humans, but and we put her to sleep. She was just getting very confused. She would go into like corners of walls and not, get stuck there. It was very, very sad to see. Like, you could see that she was scared when you looked in her eyes. She didn't know what was happening to her. And that blog I wrote for buzz.snow.com. It's a local blog here in Vail, Colorado, and it was just about, she was Ryan's best friend for long before I met him. And there was a moment where he took her. It was the day that we were going to say goodbye to her, and he took her on a hike to one of her favorite places, and she came back, and she wasn't Natasha for a long time. Like, he would look in her eyes, and she just wasn't there. But she came home from this hike, and I bent down to, like, rub the little soft part between her eyes, and she looked right at me and gave me, I think, 2 huge licks on my face, and I knew that she was saying goodbye, and she was saying, take care of him, and I know you will, and I trust you, and I love you, and I'm like getting teared up just thinking about it, because it was such a special moment. And anyway, we are huge dog lovers. We still have a 5-pound Yorkie named Tank, who we love and cherish, and I think we'll always have animals in our life.
Well, it is a extraordinary story. Trishas Sutter, America's first bachelorette, recently celebrating her 10-year anniversary with her husband, Ryan. They are 2 children. They live in Colorado. And the work, again, is called Happily Ever After, from Trishas Sutter, the original bachelorette, A Life-Changing Power of a Grateful Heart. Trista, as we sort of wind down here a little bit, to our Lewis at Large listeners, what kind of piece of advice or a thought that they can take out of this interview going forward you'd like to share with them?
I think just to give gratitude a chance, actively give it a chance. I think that if you choose gratitude, you'll live a happier life. And obviously, if you read the book, you'll see that through the research that I post, or that I've written. But I think that if you either start each day or end each day with either your favorite part of the day, like I do, or with one thing that you're grateful for, or 5 things that you're grateful for, it will change your outlook. You'll be able to reflect on the day or look forward to the day with a positive outlook, and that will go incredibly far. So if you don't believe me, just try it for a while, and not just around the holidays. I think that it's important for the holidays, and I hope that people will embrace the concept around the holidays, but I think that embracing the concept of gratitude throughout the entire year is really important too, because the holidays everyone's kind of up and excited and happy, but it's like, after the holidays that we probably need gratitude more. So.
Well, your website is TristaSutter.com. That's TristaSutter.com. Trista, how can people get a copy of Happily Ever After?
It's in bookstores everywhere, on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, but also, and I have autographed copies on PremierCollectibles.com, but they can go to TristaSutter.com, and I list a bunch of spots that they can buy it, and they can even watch the book trailer as well.
All right. Well, listen, thank you so much for spending part of your day with us. Tell them hello back at The View. And have a wonderful 2014. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You too. Take care. Happy holidays.
You bet. We will be back with more right after this on Lewis at Large.